mental health supports. We need repatriation programs to bring our brothers and sisters home.
Tonight, it has been 10 years since Manitoba apologized for its involvement in the Sixties Scoop. Tiara Wheatley will bring us an update.
We have to make sure that we have someone that's there 24 hours a day.
The ongoing push to get Nunavik to be able to dial 911 for help, a huge need in northern Quebec.
I'm just honored to be to have the opportunity to give back to such a great program.
And a coffee shop in Ontario that's giving back to a local Indigenous community, one cup at a time. Good evening, I'm Chris Nachkate. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. 60 Scoop survivors gathered in Winnipeg today to rally together and push for more resources. All of this comes as it's now been 10 years since they got a formal apology from the Manitoba government for its involvement in the 60 Scoop. With more, here's APTN's Tiara Wheatley.
An apology on its own is not enough.
Colleen Rajat is among 60 Scoop survivors gathered at a special event dedicated to the issue. On this day 10 years ago, then Premier Greg Selinger stood in the Manitoba legislature.
Today, as Premier, I would like to apologize on behalf of the province of Manitoba for the 60 Scoop.
Now, with the help of the Anish Healing Centre, 60 Scoop survivors have come together to call on the Manitoba government to engage survivors, create programs, develop and implement a survivor-led strategy, and produce a public report about what's being done since the apology.
We need much more mental health supports. We need repatriation programs to bring our brothers and sisters home. It's been estimated that up to 3,000 Manitoba children was sent to the United States. No follow-up was ever done on our children that were placed in these homes. Proper checks and balances were not put in place.
Rajat also says more research and resources are needed to bring those children home. Southern Chiefs Organization Grand Chief Jerry Daniels is amongst those vowing to push today's Manitoba government into action.
We will support your call for a public report, for the action, and for the recognition that the impacts of the scoop are not simply history. They are a lived reality.
A lived reality many survivors chose to share on this anniversary.
Those words struck hard. I have been living with a lost identity for most of my life. Not knowing who I am, not knowing where I belong, not knowing my culture or language. I struggled a lot growing up. Endured physical abuse from my grade 1 teacher.
I suffered physical, mental, and verbal abuse from teachers. I was called Dirty Indian. I had one teacher who made me eat my lunch on the floor because I wasn't good enough to eat it at my desk.
Lorraine Sinclair is one of 11 siblings taken during the 60 Scoop. They never got to meet their mother.
Today, all we have is a GPS course of where our mother was buried and how we had to go about to phone a funeral home, not knowing her birthday. We knew her first and her last name, we thought. We didn't know her middle name. We didn't even know her the day she died. And they asked me, "Why don't you guys know this?" I said, "Because we're 60 Scoop survivors. We've never met our mother."
Stories that are still coming out all these years later. In an emailed statement, Families Minister Nahani Fontaine acknowledged the pain caused by the 60s. She said her government has dedicated a staff member for 60 Scoop survivors and that she meets regularly with survivors to hear their recommendations. However, no mention as to whether a report on the matter would be forthcoming. Tiara Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
A new report on race and ethnicity data in Manitoba emergency rooms has revealed several disparities between Indigenous and non-Indigenous patients. The report is based on data collected in Manitoba hospitals over the last 2 years and seen as a way to reduce systemic racism within the healthcare system. Indigenous patients accounted for 36.9% of emergency department visits between May of 2023 and September of 2024, despite representing just 18.5% of Manitoba's total population. They are also the most likely to wait longer to receive care and leave the emergency department without being seen by a physician. The report also shows that Indigenous patients have similar triage scores to white patients, which the report states counters against the common stereotype of Indigenous people using the emergency departments inappropriately. Lead researcher Dr. Marcia Anderson says these stereotypes impact how patients are assessed.
There are some well-known stereotypes that interfere with how some people are assessed compared to others. I had mentioned the stereotype about Indigenous people being frequent flyers, the stereotypes around substance use and how that can interfere with it. One that's common for African and or Black people, which even as recently as 5 years ago, a study of medical students showed that many medical students still believe that African and or Black people experience less pain. And so stereotypes like that really impact how people are assessed and how they may be triaged.
The wildfires across Manitoba have impacted thousands of lives due to destruction, displacement, and a level of uncertainty. A crisis like this can impact evacuees in various ways, including their physical and mental well-being. That's why a health benefits provider in Manitoba is now offering complimentary support. Not-for-profit organization Manitoba Blue Cross is providing free counseling and virtual care services to Manitobans evacuated due to wildfires. Those eligible can access up to 3 counseling sessions, in person or virtual, and connection to a 24/7 mental health professional. Evacuees can also access medical support online or over the phone for physical issues like infections or rashes with a partner go-to doctor. And in partnership with Sleep in Heavenly Peace Winnipeg, Manitoba Blue Cross will also be sending 50 mattresses and bedding packages to northern Manitoba so those without beds can have some comfort.
We are here to support all Manitobans, and we recognize how disruptive this evacuation has been for many Manitoba communities. So for us, it was about how can we be helpful and how can we be helpful quickly? These are things that we already had available. We offer robust mental health services through our employee assistance program, and as the leader, it was an easy decision for me to say, let's leverage those as we have in similar circumstances in the past to make sure that people can access good mental health services quickly.
And for more information, visit the website at mb.bluecross.ca/wildfire support or call toll free at 1-800-590-5553. In Nunavik, in northern Quebec, you can't call 911. This is a result of a lack of infrastructure, but a pilot project that launched in 2023 is hoping to allow for quicker emergency response times. The project has just been a permanent initiative with funding from the Quebec government. It's run in a suburb just outside of Montreal. Our APTN reporter Savannah Craig looks into why the call center is opening near Montreal and not in Nunavik.
Currently, the 911 is not available in Nunavik.
But Inuit in communities across Quebec's northern region, Nunavik, will soon be able to dial an emergency number. The town of Saint Eustache, a suburb of Montreal, is hosting a call center to respond to emergency calls from Nunavik's northern villages.
Our goal at the Nunavik Police Service is to offer the same level of service that we see in any other police service in Quebec.
Nunavik Police Deputy Chief Sean Longstreet says they looked at opening the center in Cree Nation, Iqaluit, and Nunavik. But there was not enough qualified people to answer Nunavik's calls.
With all the recruitment issues that we're already facing across all of the jobs in Nunavik, we have to make sure that we have someone that's there 24 hours a day answering the calls.
He said the emergency service is now available in Saluit, Kujuarapik, Inujuak, Pavernatik, and Umuak. Longstreet says 2 more communities will be added in the coming weeks and will eventually expand to all 14 by the end of 2029.
It's more than a job, it's an investment.
More than $4 million in funding is being provided by the Government of Quebec to expand a pilot project that was launched in 2023 to respond to emergency calls in the north.
The reason why we're here today is because of an unfortunate incident.
Longstreet says this began in response to an officer who was shot and killed in Kuujjuaq in 2013.
It's the death of our police officer, Steve Derry, a friend of mine. Actually, I went to the police academy with him.
He says this death resulted in a call for police officers in Nunavik to no longer answer emergency calls and only respond to them. There are currently no emergency phone responders employed who speak Inuktitut, but Longstreet hopes this will change.
We are working with KI, the school board, to try to find individuals that want to apply and do the job.
Community members will not dial 911, but with an emergency number that is different community to community. Longstreet told APTN News that this is because the infrastructure is operated by Bell Canada and does not support 911 technology in Nunavik. The emergency number for each community can be found on the website for the Nunavik Police Service. Savannah Craig, APTN National News, Saint-Eustache, Quebec.
Veronica Blackhawk is back for part 3 of her Indigenous identity and music series titled Face Value. That story when we come back. Welcome back. Tonight on part 3 of Face Value, APTN's Veronica Blackhawk continues to explore the conversation around identity, lineage, and kinship. For one Métis musician, it's been an uncomfortable process to reclaim a place in the Indigenous music community amid accusations of not being real, but it has since inspired a healing journey, not just for her, but for other musicians in the industry.
You see the way they play, say to be a part of change, I think they lie.
Megan Meisters is a musician by the name Iskway. She's a registered citizen of the Manitoba Métis Federation, born and raised in Winnipeg, under the care of her maternal grandfather, who passed down his knowledge of Métis culture.
I witnessed him feel or express pride in his culture and then also shame. I saw both of those sides of him, right? And that sat with me more than anything, because I could see the hurt that he had experienced and the pride that he felt seeing me be proud. It was something that actually was a generational change, right? Because between my grandfather's generation and my mother's generation, there wasn't as much connection for my mom.
We ask Megan where she stands with the Indigenous music community currently.
Definitely in a different place than it was a few years ago. It has changed quite drastically in the last couple of years since I was accused of lying about being Indigenous. The majority of my career was spent within the Indigenous music community specifically. And the friendships that were built that have sustained the test of time are family members.
For Megan, the lines between culture and identity have always been blurry.
Métis people are, known as prior to being a half-breed nation. And I think this is a really important piece, is that the bits of culture that came down that were specifically Métis when you're an urban kid aren't necessarily as obvious.
Music was a way to explore these lines and advocate for others like her grandfather and herself.
Having heard firsthand what he experienced and understanding very early on that my experiences were and were going to continue to be different, because I look like his kin, but I'm not the same shade of skin color. I've always been aware of this. And to me, it was important to utilize this in a way that could raise awareness, could give back to community.
Despite criticism she's received, Megan encourages the dialogue.
I'm tired of being uncomfortable about being a part of this conversation from that side. I'm not sitting here as a victim. I'm sitting here as, hey, this happened, but where can we go from here? We have our kinship ties, we have our lineage, we have all of these things that are passed down from generation, and that makes me a part of my community.
Megan wishes to see these discussions held in a safer way moving forward.
We can't be expected to know everything about each other. So why don't we find a way to, learn from a place of welcoming again, instead of, trying to just pluck people out far too easily? How do we mend things inter-community, right? Because the thing is that I've been learning more and more is I know nothing.
Megan holds a valid Manitoba Métis Federation card, but she still faces backlash as Indigenous fraud claims resurface online. Throughout the ordeal, Megan's learned the importance of accountability when it comes to questions about community claims. She continues to share her story in hopes that others with complex and mixed identity aren't discouraged from building community connections in the future. Veronica Blackhawk, APTN National News.
Thank you for that story, Veronica. A coffee shop in Ontario is giving back to its local Indigenous community. That story when we're back after the break. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Time now for our photo of the day. Todd Spence submitted this beautiful sunset from Peewinuk, Ontario. A big thank you to Todd for sending in that pic and sharing it with all of us. If you would like to be featured as our next photo of the day, send us your pictures to share at aptn.ca and be sure to tell us all you can about your picture. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. On the East Coast, St. John 17 in rain, Charlottetown 25 in showers. Nujuak 5, LeGrand River 13. Gaspé 27, Quebec City 22. 24 in Ottawa, Sault Ste. Marie 24. 19 in Timmins, Big Trout Lake 20 in sun. Churchill 18, Thompson 20 in sun. 24 in Gimli, 22 in Prince Harbour. 23 in Yorkton, showers in Saskatoon at 23. 16 in Stony Rapids, Uranium City 15. Peace River 19, Fort McMurray 20 in sun. 27 in Medicine Hat, Red Deer 20. Bella Coola 16, Campbell River 20. 22 in Fort Nelson, Smithers 19 in showers. Whitehorse 22, Old Crow 26. 26 in Trout Lake, Yellowknife, sunny there and 19. 13 in Colville Lake, Polituck, +1. 5 in Chesterfield, Whale Cove 7. And Clyde River 1, Agulik, +6. A campaign to support language and culture in the Mohawk community of Tyendinaga is underway one cup at a time. The goal is to raise $10,000 over June, which is National Indigenous History Month. Here's APTN's Annette Francis with that story.
Jaira Barberstock serves up a fresh brew of Cavendish tea. Under that brand name, she's created an assortment of 7 teas and 5 blends of coffee, all inspired by Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe teachings. This one is called Love Tea.
It's really special for me to have a tea and coffee company. First of all, I absolutely love tea and coffee, especially tea. And for me, it's an opportunity to be able to share something that I love with other people.
Cavendish celebrated its 3rd year in existence this spring. Barberstock says sharing cultural teachings and language is a vital part of what Cavendish is.
That's where our roots are. So for example, this month we're involved in, we're calling it Give Back Month. And during Give Back Month, we're doing $2 off for every tea and coffee. That's our give back to people that have been following us and buying from us. And for every coffee and tea that's sold, we're actually donating $2 to TTO. So our goal is to raise $10,000.
According to Callie Hill, that money will go towards language and cultural programs at the new Gwandagay Center, which is currently being built.
Every contribution is meaningful to us in whatever way it is and at whatever amount. Maybe it's not even monetary. Maybe it's, coming to help volunteer to do something. I've always said, I will continue to say this is a community building, and I really want our community to know and to feel that.
Some local businesses are on board to help raise funds too. 3 Nations traders will also donate $2 for every Cavendish product sold from their shelves. Amy Smart says it's an important gesture.
Just brings more of that sustainability, the food sovereignty, and it also brings that economic development, or keeps it within the community. I think it's important for many of our businesses to, support the local community and ventures.
Melissa Brett is the Tyendinaga Mohawk artist who designed the Cavendish packaging. She also supports language and cultural programs at the new center. That's why she's stocking her shelves with Cavendish at the Sacred Circle.
I'm just honored to be to have the opportunity to give back to such a great program. I think our language and our culture should be absolutely available, and I'm super excited for the whole project to be done. And
Stock says those interested can purchase online.
And for anyone that's outside of Tyendinaga, they can buy tea and coffee through proudlyindigenous.com.
So far, Barbara Stock is short of her goal, but will extend the deadline into July. Meanwhile, the new center is slated to open by this December. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Tyendinaga, Mohawk Territory.
Earlier this month in Winnipeg, a pair of community groups teamed up for a Circle of Unity gathering. It was all for families to come together with one another, plus share the old ways and be united as one. Dylan Cloud reports.
The way it is in our traditional ways is that we like to start every gathering and ceremony in a good way. So whether that be, smudging, drumming, pipe ceremonies.
You can change your life. Better choices help. Quentin Bird is living proof of that. Quentin was in and out of jail for many years before he started volunteering Spirit Horse, a group to mentor youth and other people who want change. He stayed committed to Spirit Horse, and over time, volunteering turned into a full-time job.
It means bringing our community folks together and showing love and initiative of other people and collaborating together as a community.
Kara Elric is with Community 204. She worked alongside Quentin to organize this event, along with other members of a handful of other community organizations.
Get to see people having fun, nice cold refreshments, get to be here with the family and just enjoy the day. Like, we've been having a hard time, like our houses went up in fire like 3 days ago and it's been tough, and I'm just happy we're out here with the kids and having a good time.
James Brass is one of those people who showed up to enjoy the moment. So is Vern Cook, also known as Coot.
Just the people, and to see their faces light up when they get an idea that, yeah, I could go do that, or I could go do this, And yes, saying no to drugs or alcohol is important, right, for our nations. However, for them to have hope, that's everything right there.
Kara and I were tasked to put this event together in partnership with, Community Helpers United, Native Clan, Community 204, Spirit Horse, Rotary Club. So if there's anybody I missed, I love you.
By all accounts, this year's event was a resounding success, which brings up the possibility of another round next year. For APTN National News, I'm Dylan Cloud in Winnipeg.
Great job, Dylan. And that's your evening newscast for this Wednesday, June 18th. We're back again for your daytime newscast tomorrow. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, hi miigwech masicho kwana. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again. Ekse.